with a heavy heart, but nevertheless, with gratitude to God Almighty for the gifts of such an incredible and iconic leader of our people, a nationalist par excellence, and a champion for justice and equity, and for a better Nigerian federation. Pa Edwin Keagbodo Clark, OFR CON, who yesterday, early hours of the other evening, joined his illustrious ancestors and was called to glory by his creator. Mr. President and my dear colleagues, I know that these sentiments of sadness and gratitude to God for a life well spent is shared by all of us in this chamber and across our nation and even beyond. Pa Clark's life is an open book that has been read over and over, examined and re-examined for different purposes and by different personalities. And so, his main achievements and the highlights of his illustrious and long career are very well known. A number of people, particularly those who are just getting acquainted to what he did in his life, in his later years, in his long life, 97 years, an uncommon age. It's not everyone who can live to that age, and even at that age, retaining his faculties and serving. As we say, no leave, no retirement, no leave, until the very last day. And so younger people, particularly in a nation that struggles to study history, may only look at his contributions in the context of PANDEF, one of the very last initiatives of his. But before then, Pa Clark not only served meritoriously as Commissioner for Education in the then Midwestern states, he also became Commissioner for Finance under Ogbemudia, even though he had been assisting unofficially the administration of Ejo, who was the military governor at the time. Thereafter, as a result of his outstanding contributions and services to our people, he was identified by the then head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, who promptly appointed him, then called Federal Commissioner for Information, a role he played diligently and in a manner that endeared him to his boss, and they remained very close up until his last day. After serving as Minister of Information, Pa Clark served in different other capacities, but also ran elections, joined the NPN. Well, they were the backers, they were the big people behind NPN at that time, and supported the administration of President Shagari. Then he now ran for Senate, as we have been told. So here is a man who traversed the entire gamut of national service. As a matter of fact, the secondary school I attended, government secondary school Torebeni, in my local government, was built by Pa Clark. when he was Commissioner for Education in the government of then Brigadier Ogbemudia. Some may not know this fact, but the present Bayelsa State, my senatorial district used to be part of Western Region. My senatorial district. The two other senatorial districts were part of the then Eastern Region. We became Midwest, from Western Region, Midwest, Bendel. So growing up, after flying the flag of chanting General Gowon, the military administrator we were calling and marching for was Brigadier Ogbemudia, then Colonel Ogbemudia. The secondary school I attended, and they had a healthy rivalry. When I asked him why they built that kind of secondary school with boarding facilities in my local government, he said because it was a border community. Across it was Amasoma in the then Eastern Region, and that became River State. So Ogbemudia and his colleague and friend, King Alfred Jetesmith, were competing. So they all had to build good schools that will showcase what they were doing. So standing here, I am a beneficiary of the foresight and commitment and dedication to duty. Most of the schools in my area, secondary schools, primary schools, were built by these hard-working, dedicated gentlemen. He was a commissioner, Ogbemudia was his governor. So as we give credit to him, we also give credit to his boss, who gave him all the support. Now, Paklak became a lot of things. He wasn't a self-styled region leader. No, let me correct that. He was our acclaimed national leader of the John Nation. Until his passing, was chairman of the INC board, the John National Congress Board of Trustees. Mr. President, I served as national legal advisor almost 20 years ago of that body. Pa Clark and his colleagues set up the South-South People's Congress, SOPEC, which Mr. President, when you were commissioner, and one of the key leaders in Akwa Ibom were all part of. Then he and his colleagues set up the Southern Nigeria Forum, Southern Nigeria Leaders Forum, which until his death was chairman. And they had also the South and Middle Belt Leaders Forum, which again he coordinated as chairman. And then few years later, Pandef. All these were his attempts at bridge building to see that Nigeria is transformed. That whereas we remain a nation of nationalities, that in the words of our current national anthem, it used to be our old national anthem, but it has become our new national anthem, which says, though tribes and tongues may differ, one brotherhood we stand. That was what Pa Clark believed in. And when he and his colleagues, and I'm sure, Mr. President, it won't be too long before we will take tributes about his dear friend and compatriot, one of our respected fathers, Pa Adebanjo, who passed 3 days or 4 days before him, as if, almost at the same age, as if these two fathers and iconic leaders had a discussion and said, well, we've spent all our lifetime fighting for a better Nigeria. Time to depart. And both of them used to say, for those who had the benefit of being close, who were mentored by them, they used to say they were in the boarding, was it? That they had collected their boarding passes, just waiting to board. So, Mr. President, here was a man who gave the entirety of his adult life to the service of our nation. for a better Nigeria, an inclusive Nigeria, a Nigeria for all, not a Nigeria for some, a Nigeria that will be like other nations that will leave our country and fight for visas to. They fight to enthrone justice and fairness and inclusion. We sometimes resist change, and yet we admire them. But these are people who want Nigeria to be like those nations, and if even better. So, my dear friends, we have lost an iconic leader and father, and a bridge builder and nationalist par excellence. I join on behalf of my senatorial district and our people in paying tributes, and I know that there are so many programs lined up, which I'm part of them, and we will be notifying Mr. President of the Senate and all of you so that at your own time, find time to be in some of these events all the way through till we take his remains to Keagboro. But the lesson remains. They've left a Nigeria for us to continue to build a nation of fairness, a nation of oneness, and a nation that will build to be one of the greatest nations on earth if we work together to enthrone justice and fairness. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, let me just